Hello, and welcome to episode 3 of Soundwaves, the podcast of the MacArthur Cancer Trust. This is a place for us to share stories, go behind the scenes, and stay in touch with everyone who has a relationship with the Trust. This episode is going out on the evening of Monday, the 11th of May, having just announced some changes to the Trust's 2020 season. My name is Scott. I'm Communications Officer for the MacArthur Cancer Trust, and I'm joined by Frank Fletcher, CEO, and Corinda Morton, who is the Communications Manager here, to talk about that announcement. Frank, can you just explain what decisions have been made?
Hi, Scott. Hi, everyone. So up until now, we had said that we really wanted to start activity from mid-July if possible. And I think as everyone has realised over the last couple of weeks that it's become increasingly clear that that's just not possible. So sadly, what we've announced today is that we will not be running any first-time trips in 2020 and that we have cancelled our return trip program as it stands. So potentially we may be able to run some return activity later in the year, even when it becomes safe to do so, but only if and when it becomes safe to do so. And that's the reason that we've cancelled the trip as it stands, because it's increasingly look like that's going to be very difficult to do. So not a great day in the Trust history, but the right decision. And I just want to reassure those young people who have, and I know that the ops team has spoken to them today, but if your trip has been cancelled, that will not count towards the number of trips that a young person is eligible for.
It can't have been easy for you and for the team to get to this point. Can you tell me a little bit about how you all came to this decision?
Yeah, I think anyone who knows the Trust, anyone who knows the team, anyone who knows me knows just how difficult this has been. But it's the right decision because the safety and the welfare of young people come first. And currently we can't see how we could run trips safely. And you can't manage social distancing in the tight confines of a yacht. Young people currently use public transport to get to and from a trip, and we would be bringing young people together from all across the country. So, in some ways, it was a very hard decision, but in some ways, it's a very simple decision. I think the other thing that was very much in our mind is that we can't put pressure on the NHS, and our recruitment and a lot of our recruitment is through the NHS, and a lot of our volunteers come from the NHS, and we can't add pressure to the NHS at this time. That's what we're all trying not to do. And equally, we don't want to add pressure to our partner charities. We work with a wide range of partner charities. Two of the biggest, Click Sargent and Teenage Cancer Trust, they're working really hard to support young people and their families at the moment, and we don't want to add pressure to them. And we also increasingly became aware that, young people a lot of young people we work with are shielding, and a lot of young people we work with are incredibly anxious about their vulnerability and their health. So it was a really difficult decision, but it's for all the right reasons. And, we spoke to parents, we spoke to young people, we spoke to our youth board, we spoke to our board of trustees, and everyone felt that, not running trips in 2020 was the best decision, unless things change towards the end of the year and, we can find some way of running, one or two socially distanced return trips and working out how we can do that. So the cancelling of the first time trips, the cancelling of the return trips as they stand was the right thing to do now, because it was only fair to let young people know, let our volunteers know, let our skippers know as early as possible. And it's better to cancel now and then put something on in September if it's possible to do it safely, than to keep holding on and letting people down at the last minute.
Corinda, can I just bring you in here and ask, this is a decision that affects a lot of people, probably more than most people realise. How have you let everyone know?
Hi everyone. Yeah, it's as just to echo Frank's thoughts really in terms of how difficult this has been for everybody. And like you say, Scott, once you actually start breaking it down as to who this decision actually affects, it's mammoth. I mean, you've got the young people and their families for a start. You've got all the volunteers, which come from a wide spectrum of the whole trust community. You've got the people that are contracted for the season, our skippers, and then beyond that, you've got all our supporters, our fundraisers, our donors. There's such a wide spectrum, our corporate partners. There's such a wide spectrum of people that this decision directly affects. So, it was only right and fair that those people knew before we went public with this decision. So the team have spent the day going out to their contacts and the people that they know within all these different spheres that the trust sort of touches. And had those difficult conversations with them today and let them know by email. And then obviously the next step for us was to let everybody publicly know the difficult decision that's had to be taken, and that's what this evening's been all about. And you might have seen Frank's blog, you might have listened to the podcast, you might have seen the video. We've tried to make sure that wherever people are getting their news, as it were, then they're gonna actually see it. So we're hopeful that everybody who needs to know by in the next 24 hours will know, and if they've got any questions or any concerns or anything they want to say to us, that they can do, and we're here to listen.
It's always important that anyone who supports the trust in whatever way they can knows that they're appreciated. Not only that, but that they know the difference their support makes too. On behalf of everyone at the Trust, here is our patron Ellen MacArthur with a message for everyone who has lent their support.
Young people in recovery from cancer are going to need us more than ever once this is all over. Some, recently off treatment, will be undergoing even stricter isolation than most of us. Imagine how hard that will be, not only for them, but also their families. And those recently diagnosed will be not only going through something incredibly stressful, going through hospital and treatment, but also at times like this. Imagine what that must be putting them all through. So I wanted to say thank you. Thank you so much for supporting the Trust during these difficult times, for fundraising, for sharing our message on social media. We massively appreciate it, and we know there will be even more need for all that we do in 2021 and beyond. Thank you.
Can I just bring back that point you mentioned earlier, Frank, about the possibility of some return trips if and when it's safe to do so? What sort of things would you have to take into consideration to start thinking about that becoming something we could do?
So thanks, Scott. So from the beginning of this crisis, we have followed the advice of Public Health England and Health Protection Scotland, and the advice that we've been getting from our fantastic trustee, Dave Hoban, who's a paediatric oncologist in Birmingham, advice from other trustees, advice from the wider, teenage and young adult cancer world. So we're going to follow that advice. And then, we need to look very closely at our risk assessments, and those are the partners that we work with on the return trips. And in honesty, Scott, I don't know what's possible now, and I don't know where we'll be in September. But, it might be that actually we could run a residential trip with some social distancing. I think that's going to be really hard on a yacht. But these are the sort of questions that we need to start asking. So, one of the things that I think one of the hardest things about this decision, maybe what didn't really get across in your last question, is, one of the toughest things about this is we know how hard young people are finding lockdown. And, a lot of young people are having to socially shield, socially isolate well beyond what, I'm having to do. And so, we have this sort of position where, we want to do more because we know young people need us, but actually we know that we've got to make sure it's safe to do so. And that's really hard. So these are questions probably for later in the year when there's a clearer idea of how this is looking. But, we will only do this if and when it's safe. And, what the team need to do, and, I hope Karen's going to talk in a minute about other things that we would really like to do. And, I think that's really important. But we'll only run trips again when it's completely safe to do so, when we've worked out how to make it completely safe to do so. But we know that there are young people who really need us at the moment. And probably the hardest bit of all of this is that we know they need us, but we also know it wouldn't be safe to bring them on a trip. And that's a really hard position for us. But we've got to make it safe. So, as we go through the year, we will look at how we can make this safe, and we'll talk to everybody who can help us with that.
It's clear that after all this has been put out there, the main message to take away is that it becomes about supporting young people in other ways. Corinda, could you talk a little bit about what the plan is there?
Thanks, Scott. Yeah, so I mean, obviously, first and foremost, we all wanted to support young people in a trip environment in some way this year. When it became obvious that wasn't going to be possible, the next most important thing was making sure that we were communicating that. And that's really what last week and today is all about, making sure that those people who need to know are now aware of the situation in which we find ourselves. What comes next is really the next thing for us to start tackling. We might have some ideas in house as to how we could support young people, but actually the best people to tell us what support they need and what support they want is the young people themselves, the families, the partner charities that we work with. So that's our next thing, really, that to start going out to these people and finding out what they might want and need over the course of the next 6 to 9 months, and possibly even beyond. There was a survey that went out with some of the emails today, so we've started that process just to kind of start getting a bit of a sense as to actually what will people miss about the trips, what might we be able to offer some support, and how might we be able to do that, what actually might that look like this year. And once we start getting some of this feedback in, then we can start to look at actually how we might be able to do it, and actually give the young people the support that they actually need this year. As I said, the survey went out this morning, during the course of today. It's also going to be in Frank's blog on the website, so you'll be able to check it out and actually complete the survey through that if you want to get involved and offer your views. And also we'll be promoting it across our social media channels in the coming days. So if you have got things that you want to say, things that you think might be helpful, things that, ways that we might not have ever even considered that we could support young people, then we want to hear it. And once we've put all that into the melting pot, then we'll start making some decisions around what may or may not be possible. But the most important thing is that we don't rush any of this. The most important thing is that, as is always the way, we have to do the right thing for the young people. And if that means it takes a few weeks to get our heads around giving them the right support, then that's what we'll do.
Yeah, if I could just echo that, really, we know that young people need us now, and we want to know from the young people who've served with us in the past, young people who are serving with us now, our volunteers, the families we work with, professionals in the teenage and young adult and children cancer world. We want to know what we can do, because we want to support young people, and that's what gets everyone who works at the trust. That's what gets them up in the morning, and this is so much more than a job to all of us, and we want to be there to support young people. And what we need is your help. If you're listening to this, you have a connection to the trust, almost certainly. So we need your help in helping us to work out, if we can't run trips in 2020, how can we support young people? And as Corinne just pinpointed you to all the places that you can go and find the link to the survey, please go and fill in that survey.
If there are no trips this year, what does that mean for fundraising, Frank? Where does fundraising fit into that?
So so the coronavirus, like every charity, has hit the Ellen MacArthur Cancer Trust. So our income is down by a third this year. We need to be there for young people in 2021, and a lot of our suppliers have been absolutely fantastic. I mean, there are some people that I'm just blown away by how nice people have been, but there have been some costs for this year's trips that are not recoverable. And we still have to, there are things that cost a charity to run. So, we still have to do all the things that we do. We still have to pay our insurance. We still have to pay, our berthing for our boats. There are still costs to running the charity. So, there are young people at the moment who are on treatment in complete isolation, away from family and friends. They are going to need us in 2021, and therefore we need to make sure that we are here in 2021. So, we need your help still. We're not in the position where we need to do an emergency appeal. We're not in the position where we're in dire straits, but we need to keep going so that we're there for young people in 2021, and we need people's support and help in doing that. And looking longer term, I'm not an economist, but it looks like there are a tough couple of years ahead, and we know charities suffer in recessions. We've seen that in the past, and therefore we need your support possibly even more than we have before. So that we're there for young people in 2021 and beyond, our fundraising will be, if anything, ramping up rather than going on hold.
So I think that sort of covers a broad overview of what's happened, what's happening, and what it looks like going forward. Frank, is there anything else you would like to add to what we've discussed?
Yeah, I mean, I think what I'd really like to say is we will be there for young people in 2021, because there are young people who are currently going through this in an even worse situation than the vast majority of us, and we need to be there for those young people. And can't tell you what it will feel like when we get to run a trip again in 2021. It's just going to be the most gorgeous, wonderful moment. And then I think without making this sound like an Oscar speech, there are some people we really have to thank. Our board of trustees have been superb. The team at the trust just have gone above and beyond. They've been wonderful. The goodwill we've had from people, the generosity we've had from people, people have just been so wonderful over the last 8 weeks. Donors, supporters, volunteers, they've just been great. And our youth board, we went out with a question to our youth board. We have a WhatsApp youth board group. Went out for a question to our youth board, and the replies that we got, like almost within 10 minutes, really thought out replies. Just, I could go on for far too long, so I won't. But, there are so many people who've done so many wonderful things and have been so generous with time, with money, with support. And, as I say, the team at the trust have been superb. And I suppose that if I was going to finish with anything, I would say thank you to all of those people, because it's because of those people that we will be here in 2021 for young people who are really going to need us in the future.
I think all that's left to say is a huge thank you to Frank and to Carenza, and an especially huge thank you to you for listening and for sticking with the trust. Each episode of this Soundwaves podcast can be found on our website at ellenmacarthurcancertrust.org, and we are now on Apple Podcasts and Spotify too, so please do follow and subscribe and rate us if you want to hear more from us. Until next time, take care.